Welcome to the Blake Edwards podcast. I am your humble and gracious host, Blake Edwards, and today we have on a very special guest today. He is an entrepreneur here out in the city of Tampa. He is also the CEO and owner of the 12 Factory. His name is Trey Scales. Welcome to the show, man.
Well, I'm happy to be here, man. Thank you for inviting me. You know, it's a pleasure to be here on your show. But yeah, let's get it.
No, definitely. I really appreciate you for coming. I know you've been really busy, especially like on the politics side of things. You've been doing a lot of, I know you're an ambassador and you've been doing like a lot of volunteer work for Kasim Reed recently. How's that been?
It's interesting. You know, it's like, I'm new to it, but I understand how important it is for the community, for, individuals trying to understand how you could connect politics with business, you know, and also just being out there to, get behind a candidate that can really help the city grow and get back to the normalcy of Atlanta, because it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, it has been. No, and it's just crazy too. And another thing, like the reason why I bring it up is I love like seeing, especially people in like our community, like when we get involved in politics, because you really don't see it like often. So like seeing you out there like doing a lot of like the community work and helping Kasim Reed like get back in the office, like that's just cool as shit too.
Absolutely.
Like just being in that environment too.
Definitely. I've been blessed to have a long lasting relationship with Kasim Reed. So him coming back around, deciding to run for his third term, I was able to be reconnected with him at the right time and being able to volunteer some of my time and resources for his campaign.
No, definitely. And like I was just watching his podcast with Big Facts, and one of the notable things that he said to me that kind of hit home was he said, America was using Atlanta as a playground during the pandemic. And I felt like that was just so true, because when the pandemic really had started, like I felt like we were closed for maybe like two or like a month literally, and then we just opened back up. So like, but all the other like major cities like New York, California, all these different places, like they were shut down, and it was a ghost town up in New York, but we were only down for like a month. I mean, the South, like we just don't really care down here. So like it was just crazy to like see like how we were transitioning when the pandemic did start. And it was just funny too, like how, because I feel like Atlanta, like oh my god, like just so much shit was happening during the pandemic. Like a lot of people forget, like even that a lot of the George Floyd stuff was going on during like that pandemic stuff too. Like Atlanta during that time was probably the craziest I've ever seen. Like the CNN building was getting, like all types of stuff was going on.
Absolutely. And it's just certain things that Atlanta wasn't used to that was going on, and Keisha Lance Bottoms, done as best she could, I think, but having a new leadership could help us kind of get back to the sense of what Atlanta's been built on. Kasim, he's in a position now where he can utilize his fame, popularity, his experience, his network to kind of get people back into normalcy. But the pandemic, it was just some interesting dynamics, because you have like you said, we were the last state to close, first state to open. What I mean? And then we have a governor that doesn't get along with the mayor. And there's a lot of different dynamics going on. And then with the state being lenient, and then the city of Atlanta is pretty lenient too. It's kind of like wide open for black entrepreneurs. But it's not just because we were the only city open. It wasn't just black entrepreneurs in the Southeast, black entrepreneurs in the whhole country. So if you had a PPP check, if you came up on the unemployment check, and you want to go out and invest, you do all your thing, and real estate's really good in Atlanta as well too.
Definitely.
So it was a playground.
No, it wasn't. It was just crazy too, because like the culture, I feel like before like the pandemic stuff, like people would consider Atlanta Black Hollywood. Like this was a place for black professionals to come down, and people are still doing it today. A lot of influencers, YouTubers, like, and it's so funny too, like a lot of the YouTubers that I brought on, for some reason, like my fault too, like I wasn't doing like enough research on them, but some of them I'd be like, oh, they're Atlanta's number one up. They'd be like, oh, I'm from Michigan, and so like they're from all these like different places, but Atlanta has like kind of festered into being a place where just like a lot of black professionals come down. So like seeing kind of the transition that it took during the pandemic, because I mean I feel like Atlanta, it's always been like referenced as hot Atlanta, but like it was really hot Atlanta during the pandemic. Like
crime,
no, for real,
everything just went up, you know. And As far as business wise, I can say I made the most money I've ever made during the pandemic.
Yeah.
You know, I was fortunate enough to build an establishment and a business that's somewhat recession proof in the sense of, you know, having a studio being appointment only. You can always be COVID ready, you know, so you don't have to worry about 20 people being in one spot. But, you know, people being locked in the house all day long, all they have is their phone to take selfies and pictures. You know, if you want to get professional shots, you know, you got to book a studio, go somewhere, right? So, and also being an outlet for creators to come create, you know. So if you're in the house with your camera, you're like, I want to go somewhere and shoot. I just want to get out and create, you know. Having a dope creative studio space was ideal timing, you know, for that. And then the government came through and helped a lot of small businesses. I was fortunately to be one of those businesses that was able to get some aid from the pandemic. So from that, and having a really good team and you know, system that we have at our studios, it's been very successful for us lately.
No, definitely. I feel like that's just one of the cooler things about. Well, there's nothing cool about the pandemic, obviously. Like, a lot of people have lost their lives, and like that's never nothing something to joke about.
Not at all.
But like, I feel like one of the, like, just, how am I supposed to say cool? I can't think of another word. But like, one of the cool things about like the pandemic is that for a lot of the businesses, the pandemic either made or like make or broke you. Like, some people just got fucked by the pandemic. Exactly.
For real.
So like, just seeing like how, I guess, who survived throughout that whole thing was just very interesting, because I feel like a lot of it is adapting to what kind of where the economy and the marketplace is now today too, because a lot of businesses could be considered, I guess, I'm not gonna say on the internet, but like online sales is like a very really prominent thing, like building a brand, like all those different kind of things.
Online
is what
sales,
is
online
taking
marketing
off. Exactly.
too,
Yeah, e-commerce.
E-commerce definitely, and being able to, you know, put together posts or videos that are, what can I say, impulsive.
Yeah.
You know, so if you see a video of someone, you know, a before and after at a video shoot or a photo shoot, you kind of like, yo, I want to do that. I can do that. I can do that better. You know, so it's kind of a sense of competition as well. So, you know, being able to put out good content, and right now content is king. You know, so social media is, you know, driving force for any business right now. So if you don't have you know, if you're not ahead of the game in 2020, 2021 when it comes to social media and content, then you know you in the dinosaur ages.
True.
You know, you gotta be thinking forward thinking right now, and content is king. You know, developing quality content too.
Yep.
You know, quality over quantity for sure. But you always want to stay interface. So quantity is good. You know, staying relevant, posting every day. You know, getting your likes up, your followers up, staying in people's faces. You know, getting people, you know, used to looking at your storyline, looking at your posts on a regular basis as if they're tuned in to their favorite TV show. You know, that's the habits you want to create for your following, you know. So, you know, having that mindset with marketing is very, very important these days.
No, definitely. I feel like that's one of my favorite things about just business and like marketing and just today's age, because 20 years ago, you couldn't do half the shit that you could do today because of the internet. You could set up a whole shop on the internet for people to buy products and like all that different kind of stuff. So like, just seeing like the change of where it's gone in the past 10-15 years is amazing. And like, the pandemic is really what kind of knocked a couple screws loose in people's heads to like kind of transition to the internet, because there were still a lot of businesses and people that were kind of still fixed on the old way of doing things. But this is kind of really show like, you know, you have to kind of adjust and change with how the world is just going, in a sense.
Absolutely.
No, but so another thing I want to ask you though is, because I know you are also very close with Congressman Andrew Young. Yes. And Ambassador. You said I saw on one of your posts you had like a 30-year relationship with him. So like, what's that relationship been like? He was the 55th mayor for anyone that doesn't know. So what's that relationship been like?
Man, that's a living legend. You know, Definitely. If you don't know who Ambassador Andrew Young is, look it up. Ambassador Andrew Young was Martin Luther King's best friend. You know, right hand man. You know, and he was also the first African American ambassador to the UN, the United Nations, during Jimmy Carter's term, as a president. So he was the mayor of Atlanta in the 90s. My father was working in City Hall around that time, so I have a picture of Andrew Young when I was really young, and that kind of catapulted a relationship with his family and my family. And his brother is actually one of my godfathers.
Oh, that's dope.
Yes. So Walter Young has a dentist office that I grew up going to as my dentist. And crazy thing, when I went to college, I'm a graduate alumni of Hampton University, the real HU, So at Hampton, my senior year, I decided to. Well, at Hampton, I studied entrepreneurship. Put that straight. Have a major in entrepreneurship, minor in business administration. So as an entrepreneur, my first business I started with my business partners, Kenzie Howard, was a sports bar and lounge. My senior year in college, called Apples and Onions. We were trying to be like the black version of Hooters.
Wow.
Apple bottoms, onion booties, you know. So
of
all of our waitresses, had on the outfits and everything. So having a bar and lounge, my father called me. He's like, "Yo, you need to reach out to your Uncle Walter Young, because he has a adult beverage line." So, and this beverage line included vodka, wines, whole spirit line basically. And he was one of the only black-owned beverage lines in America at the time. So, reached out to him. Then I found out the distribution channels are going over state lines, and having your business line, your liquor license with different states. The whole legality when it comes to starting your own business as far as liquor, the lounge and liquor goes. So, I really couldn't distribute his brands in my lounge, but when I ended up coming back to Atlanta, he hired me to be like one of his marketing directors for his business. He has a wine called Jekyll Island winery, and Jekyll Island is actually an island off of the coast of Georgia. He and his brother Andrew Young purchased the rights, and they leased the name Jekyll Island for 50 years.
Wow.
So anybody that wants to use the word Jekyll Island, they gotta pay him for it.
That's dope. Yeah.
And these black men.
I've been there before.
Oh wow,
yeah.
That's dope, right? Yeah. So you go to Jekyll Island, think about Andrew Young, Ambassador Andrew Young, or Walter Young. They're the owners of that. So just understanding black excellence.
Yeah.
Trying to follow in those footsteps. Ambassador and Walter have been great role models to not just myself, to anybody that's grown up in Atlanta and paid attention to, the way they're been movers and shakers. And they're also, good Christian men too. He's a reverend, just like Reverend Martin Luther King, so just being able to have that outlet for resources when it comes to, my spirituality, business, and, understanding the protocols and how Atlanta works, So it's a system behind how Atlanta's been successful for the past 30 years of having African American mayors. The first black mayor was Maynard Jackson. He served 3 terms. Then you had Andrew Young, Shirley Franklin, Bill Campbell, Kasim Reed, Keisha Lance Bottoms, and then now again Kasim Reed. Hopefully, we can vote him in in November. But that knowledge I have comes from following the footsteps of Ambassador Young and my family in politics and stuff.
No, of course. Now, what was it like when you were first getting into that whole the adult beverage kind of stuff, or like the state to state laws? Because when I was down in Florida and I was in school, me and one of my buddies named Julian, we were getting into the whole the tobacco nicotine industry, because it was funny. I don't want to get into the whole part on how I found the warehouse, but we basically got in, and I was seeing all these how the nicotine bars and tobacco products, these are dirt cheap, and how all these stores are picking it up and all this other kind of stuff. And me and my friend, we were yo, we need to hop onto this, and it was just crazy. So we ended up getting, it was our annual resale certificate. They gives you access to all the non-taxable products down there and stuff. But we ended up going through with it. But we want to start a business called Get Smoked, and it was basically going to be a online. It was gonna be an online retailer where you could buy like all the nicotine, tobacco, all those different kind of stuff. But when we were getting into it, we were like, the state laws are like different, and like even certain cities within states have different laws on nicotine and all these different products. Tobacco, so we were like, if we're gonna set up like an online store, we would have to like pay a shit ton of like payment processing fees and like all these annual fees because it's such a highly regulated industry. And like we had no idea, but like it's like one of those things when you get into the business and you're learning the different aspects of it, you start to run into all these different things. So what was that like when you were handling that?
Yeah, for sure. Piggyback on what you said, there's a lot of legalities that get in the way, but I also believe that America is gangster.
It is.
You know what I mean? This is a gangster country we live in, and it's off the backs of alcohol. Yep. You know what I mean? And prohibition. You know what I mean? Tobacco. You know what I mean? Like, our ancestors that were slaves were picking tobacco in Virginia. You know what I mean? So I went to college in Virginia. Hampton is in Virginia, so it's a Commonwealth state. So when it comes to alcohol, everything goes through the ABC. I don't know what the ABC, you know what the ABC stands for? Alcohol Beverage Company? I don't know, but like, it's serious up there in Virginia when it comes to like alcohol and tobacco or whatnot. So, I mean, I know some people come from New York down to Virginia, buy cartons of cigarettes and drive back up. To, you know what I mean? You did your research, you know, like it's a lot cheaper when it comes to tobacco in Virginia, but you know, you taking a big risk crossing that state line with those tobaccos and not having any like paperwork with it. So it's one of those situations where I was like, all right, you know, this is kind of too big for my britches. I'm gonna just settle down, and you know, because when it comes to distributing like alcohol and tobacco, like on a major scale, you know, even guns too, you know, like state to state, when you try to carry your gun to state or sell your guns to state to state, like it's a lot of things getting in the way because they want to control, you know, everything, and, you know, and they want to get paid for everything, taxes on everything and whatnot. So as a black entrepreneur in Virginia, there's some processes that are set up that in a way to kind of make it a little more difficult as well, you know. So having this restaurant, going back to it, you know, in Atlanta, you can have a lounge, a hookah lounge, or club, open up 1, 2, 3 times a week, you know, and just sell straight alcohol. In Virginia, you have to have 60%. You have to be able to show that you have 60% of your sales is food and 40% of alcohol. So it forces you to be a restaurant. You know what I mean? So we were basically like creating buffets every night, and people were coming in getting a buffet ticket, even though they didn't buy any alcohol, but it's your entry was a buffet ticket. You know, so we can show that, but we really were selling more alcohol, you know, and we were like an after hour spot or whatnot, but just trying to make money, you know, like as an entrepreneur, it was, you know, to take risk. You know, as an entrepreneur, that's one of the biggest characteristics, as you know, a risk taker.
It's true. I mean? And it was funny because like when we were first getting into it, one of my friends, he was like, yo, like, because it is like a really highly like regulated industry, but I was like, fuck that, let's go ahead and buy the packs of nicotine, because we were going to I was going to school down at University of Tampa, and I just think colleges in general, a lot of college kids, they love their nicotine, their vapes, and all the different kind of stuff. And we, like, when I tell you, we had access to everything that was in the smoke shop. So like bongs, kratom, CBD, like everything that was in there. And it was funny too, cause like, and it was cool. Like one of the first little sales that we made, we bought like a bong that was like for, I think it was around $24, and then we sold it for like $180. And like, it's just crazy. Like after I saw that, I was like, these like smoke shops out here are making a killing. I'm like, shit. But he was like, yeah, like we need to be very careful, like all this other different stuff. I was like, fuck it, like let's go ahead and make this money. But like shit, just like the whole pandemic stuff was happening, and just a lot of stuff was going on that ended up coming back out here. So it was just like kind of on to the next thing, but just like having that intro to like all that was just like amazing at the same time, because it was moving fast in a way, but just having like that experience and seeing like the different things. And I also just think it's important that, like, as far as like when business goes, like, because I know like a lot of people plan with stuff, like they do a lot of planning as far as like what they want to get done, but sometimes you just need to get things moving, like, you know what I mean? And like once you get things moving, you just adjust and go accordingly along the way. And that's kind of like just my style. Like even with the podcast thing, like I was thinking like, oh, what kind of brand, niche, like all this other different kind of things, genre, like distribution platforms, like all this different kind of stuff. Do I want to video, audio, only do it on YouTube, like all that stuff? I was just like, fuck it. Let me just buy some cameras, some like mics, and get it on the way, and I'll just like figure it out along the way. Like even with the social media stuff, like I still don't like know how to even get all that stuff like really rolling. Like I'm really just moving like just basically along the way, and I just think that's really what a lot of business is. It's just a lot of trial and error, like as you're going through it.
And that's one thing I feel as though is really important, you know, when it comes to entrepreneurship. Just jump out there, jump out on faith. You know, you don't always have to have a secure business plan. You know, your business plan is for your investors, you know, for the bank, you know, as an entrepreneur, just when you have that vision, just put your resources together and help you, you know, bring that vision to life. I say one of the most important things as an entrepreneur is also developing a relationship with an accountant. Your accountant is, in my opinion, more important than your lawyer. You know, a lot of people get, you know, lawyered up really before when they get their business, you know, but I would say you get your accountant because your accountant's going to show you how you can afford the lawyer. You know what I mean? You don't want to have a lawyer on retainer and then not even understand your books, not understanding your revenue, what's coming in and out or whatnot. So, and then payroll, you know what I mean? Like your lawyer's gonna be on your payroll, you know what I mean? So it's just your accountant, in my opinion, and is like as important as your employees because when it comes to being able to do your taxes at the end of the year, you know, your expenses, you know, you want to get that money back. Right, your lawyer not gonna help you get that money back.
True.
You know what I mean? So, but your accountant's gonna show that your lawyer fees was a business expense. You know what I mean? So, when it comes to entrepreneurship, definitely jump out there with faith. Don't let your business plan hold you back. Don't let your social media hold you back, because a lot of people scared to post. They're scared to create the business page, you know. They just want to be confident with their personal page, because the personal page have the followers, you know, people used to that, you know what I mean? So it's a lot of
I'm guilty of that, not gonna lie. It's true though.
I mean, you know, so just jump out there on faith, understand that everything big started small. You know what I mean? You gotta start somewhere, and you know, and get the ball rolling. Because you can't kick the ball if it ain't rolling yet. You know what I mean?
No, that's very true. Now, seeing that like you've had like a great like mentorship around you, like growing up and all those different kind of things, especially like on the political scene, like has that ever made you want to get into politics at all? Like me personally, I feel like politics is just like a dirty game, and I don't like I'm not gonna say like I'm a subject matter expert on politics and all that stuff, but like I like to keep up with it just because I'm like fascinated, not more so like on the state level, but more so like on the federal level. So like I want to get more into like how like states work and like the government side of things on that side work, because more so I've been paying attention to like the federal stuff and like nationals, like different countries and that kind of stuff. So like like have you ever thought about wanting to get into politics or anything of that nature?
I have, for sure. But to, you know, a little bit more detail about what you just said, you know, the dirty games and politics, you just kind of like when it comes to police officers, you got dirty cops, you got clean cops, you know what I mean? But they're objective is that they're hired to serve the community, you know, and politicians serve the community. You know, they're your voice. You know, there's your voice of action. You know, you have your politics with positive MOs, and you got other politics with negative MOs. You know, so I would say I'm in it for the positive. You know, the positivity. I want to see communities grow. I want to see our people come together. Growing up in the city of Atlanta, I've seen, you know, it's the black mecca, you know, like you said, black business owners come here, black business owners grow from here, you know, and there's a certain morals and ethics here in Atlanta that I really like, and that it's kind of going out the window now, you know, everything going on. I'm hoping that, you know, Mayor Kasim Reed can kind of help us get back to those morals and ethics, you know, because hearing about all these women getting robbed at gas stations, you know, like older women getting, you know what I mean? Just certain things that you just, it's not cool. You know what I mean? It's against code. Like you don't do certain stuff. Like if you want to do that, go out to Miami, go to New Orleans, go to certain, you know what I mean? Like even when it came to CNN, like you've never seen anybody break through CNN building and like and just the whole rioting and everything.
Exactly.
I understand the cause, you know what I mean, but it didn't take all that, you know, and that was a really negative shine on the city that we never had before, you know, like a lot of that stuff go on in other cities, you know. We don't even want to get used to that down here,
right.
you know what I mean? And unfortunately, a lot of that stuff is tied to politics, you know. You got some of the, you know, vigilante, I don't know how to call them, but like certain Republicans or whatever, like they dress up as us and start tearing stuff up, making it seem like we doing it, you know what I mean? So it's just certain things that's going on that we gotta kind of get, you know, things back in order for real.
No, definitely. We definitely need to get the city back, definitely. But so would you consider yourself a Republican or a Democrat?
I don't even like using those like
terms,
you know,
definitely.
because it just kind of puts you in the box either way. Like, definitely not independent. I mean, I'm an independent thinker or whatnot, but that's a good question, dude, because it's like you have your traditional public Republicans, your traditional Democrats, but I think I'll be a non-traditional Democrat. Just like when it comes to religion, you know, like you got, you know, Christianity, you got Muslim, you got Catholics, then you got your non-denominational, you know what I mean? Like my church is more of a non-denominational type vibe, you know, so I like going that route.
Definitely. Nah, the main reason why I asked too is because at least from like the entrepreneurs that I met, a lot of them are Republican because they like the tax codes, all this other different kind of stuff. But like, it's just funny too. Like when I asked, when I asked that question, like to just even regular people too, like when I say like Republican or Democrat, they think of all like the morals and principles that come behind like the Republicans. Like what's the one that you're not allowed to have an abortion if you're stuff like those certain morals and principles that Republicans have and then Democrats have these certain morals and principles.
Because like Democrats have a tradition of leaning more toward sometimes too much government aid, too much government support, you know what I mean? So now they kind of have us feeling like we need them more than we do, you know? And then Republicans more like, yeah, we ain't giving you all this support. We gonna put it in the money into the businesses, and it's gonna trickle down the free market, you know what I mean? It's two different ways of of going about it, but you always gonna have your greedy people out there. You know what I mean? It don't matter if you're Republican, Democrat, people just be that human nature of being greedy. You gotta understand like what to do with your blessings, you know what I mean? So I just commend anybody that knows how to, take their resources and grow their business, help the family, help the community, and just do everything transparent. You know what I mean? Like don't have anything like when people questioning what you're doing here and there. Just be transparent about what you're doing with your funds.
That's true. Now let's take a step back into the past for a little bit. So where are you actually from now? I
am from Atlanta, Georgia.
Okay.
Yeah. The west side of Atlanta. Also grew up on the south side, Clayton County, College Park. And I graduated from Whitewater High School. It's in Fayette County, Fayetteville. Okay. And I ended up going up to college, like I said, at Hampton University in Virginia.
Okay, so what made you want to go to Hampton?
I went on a football scholarship.
Oh, okay, so you played a little football.
I did, yes, sir.
What position were you?
I was probably about 20 pounds lighter too. I was a kick returner, punt returner, wide receiver. I was, an athlete. You put me anywhere on the field, I was gonna just, be a baller.
Of course. Mm-hmm. So like, how was the experience going to HBCU? I feel like that's one of the. I feel like that's one of, especially in like in our community, that's one of the main goals everyone's trying to like get to. Like they want to be a part of the HBCU, go to have an HBCU experience, like network through there, just have that kind of environment. So what was it like going to Hampton?
It was beautiful, dude. Like I didn't know anything about any HBCU outside of Morehouse, Clark, and Spelman. So when I found out it was HBCU, I just thought about it being similar to like Morehouse, Clark, and Spelman. I always wanted to be on TV playing sports, but unfortunately the high school I went to, I ended up transferring there like my junior year. So, and I was the first graduating class, so we didn't have like recruits coming, looking for.
Really?
Yeah, so being like a first graduating class, it limits you on your exposure.
Yeah.
So I had to go about trying to get my scholarships on my own rather than the colleges coming to the schools. Like the school I had went to before, I had some offers on the table, schools looking at me and whatnot, but I got into a little trouble with messed that up. So when I did go to the my graduating high school, didn't have those recruits in place. So, I ended up going to HBCU. And HBCUs normally, when it comes to sports, they have the athletes, but it's generally the athletes that, couldn't educate the education. Well, their GPAs weren't right in order to get to the predominantly white schools, or they got in trouble at the predominantly white school and ended up coming to the HBCU. But I appreciated specifically Hampton because it was certain courses I took, like African American studies, or African studies, where I kind of have learned a little bit more than just your traditional, February is Black History Month, But like, you normally just hear about Black History during February, But when you go to a HBCU, it's every day Black History Month,
Exactly.
You're gonna learn something, about your culture. And then Hampton is kind of like in the middle of the East Coast, so you got people coming from New York, Philly, Maryland, DC, Atlanta, Miami, California, Chicago, like people coming from all over go to HBCU. So, it's a huge melting pot of people. Also, it's an expensive HBCU. It's not a cheap HBCU. So you're getting people coming, from good families, coming from money or whatnot. So it was just a culture shock because, I'm used to the Atlanta way of things. Going up there, it was like, okay, this is a little bit more upper echelon of Black people that's going.
So the reason why I'm smiling is because I had the same experience, even though I didn't go to HBC. I went to a PWI, but like growing up out in Gwinnett County, like Lawrenceville, like I grew up around a bunch of Black Hispanics my whole life. So I ended up going to so before University of Tampa, I was going to I don't know if you know the schools, but I went to Cedar Hill Elementary School, and I went to Richards Middle School, and then Discovery High School, which is a brand new built school out there. Okay. But on my junior year, because I ended up graduating my junior year, but I ended up going to North Springs right next door. So that was really my first, I guess, taste of like Caucasian culture in a sense. So like, but I wasn't even really, when I was over there, I wasn't even really at school. I didn't have like a lot of classes like that. But when I got to University of Tampa, like that was a culture shock. Like there wasn't like a lot of Black kids that went to the school, and I was just like, oh, like, I'm just not used to it. So like, but I'm not gonna lie though, it was fun when I was going there, just having like that different experience, and even meeting some of the Black kids that were going over there. They were, because it was an expensive school, it's a private school that was down there, so. Like a lot of the Black kids that were going down there, they did come from like that upper like echelon kind of like feel. So I understand what you were saying. So like, what was that like experience? Because it's just funny hearing you say that it's a culture shock going to like an HBCU, but like it's really true, like how I guess money does separate classes in a way in terms of like how people carry themselves, their attitudes, and like all those different kind of things. Because like it's just two different cultures. So like, what was that like? Like in a way.
So being an athlete, you don't really get to experience the true, I guess day to day. What the normal students are going through, because we're going through football practice, and they try to keep us in a certain schedule so that you don't get in trouble, things like that. But being that majority of the athletes aren't really, it's kind of like we're in an island. Like we're not really, I don't say accepted, but just because you don't come from that same type of background, it's a little conflict. So we kind of stick to ourselves, like a little fraternity of athletes or whatnot. But the girls like that bad side, what I mean? So we were kind of like the bad boys on campus, being an athlete, specifically the football team. So I use that to my advantage, what I mean? I was trying to be that bad guy to all these girls. They never had no thug or type dude they had dated growing up. So I use that to my advantage, and then also learning, because a lot of these girls I was dating, they had great father figures in their life, what I mean? So I was learning how to be a man through dating certain women, what I mean? So with certain things I was learning about being a man, being a businessman, just this certain characteristics I was learning how to be a man through dating some of these women, because a lot of these females had their father in their life that were, you know, responsible and, you know, did what they were supposed to do and things like that. So a lot of like who I'm going to be as far as a father one day, I learned from, you know, that dating experience.
Mm-hmm. No, definitely. And now I noticed that you said earlier that you got your degree in entrepreneurship. Mm-hmm. Did you always know that you want to be an entrepreneur, or do you think college helped you?
Facts. Always wanted to be an entrepreneur.
Okay.
I was a hustler. I was that guy selling Kool-Aid and popsicles on the corner in elementary school, selling candy on the bus. You know, I just always wanted to make money. Like, I had 3 jobs in high school. You know, I dibbled and dabbled into the street life, you know, hustling. Like, I just had to always have money. And then going to a HBCU and being an athlete, like, like the NCAA doesn't allow you to work.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you have to like figure out how to get some, you know, get funds or whatnot. So unfortunately I got injured, and the coach that recruited me transferred to FAMU, Florida A&M, and a new coach came and he brought his recruits from the community college that he was working at. So I lost my scholarship, but I knew if I went back to Atlanta, I was gonna end up like the rest of my friends, you know, like, you know, there's only 2 routes to go, you know what I mean, where I come from. So I was like, you know, I'm gonna get these student loans out, I'm gonna bust my tail, you know, I'm gonna do what I gotta do to stay up here. And I feel like that really saved my life. I got into the music industry. I got an internship with Def Jam. So like, I'm about to be the next Diddy. You know, I'm about to, you know, I started working with different artists. Yo, shout out to Earth Gang.
Definitely.
They were the first artists I managed in college.
Really?
Yeah.
Did you meet them in college?
Yeah.
Get the fuck out. Really? Yeah, how was that like? I love Dreamville. Like, I love that whole thing going on over there. So like, what was that like?
Yeah, it was lit. I mean, we always talked about being on the freshman class.
Yeah. That had to be in their early stages, though.
And
when was this, in 2018?
This was This was 2010, 2011.
Oh, so earlier. Oh shit. So you know them from way back. Damn,
bro. They was rapping for like 10 years before they made it, bro.
Shit.
Like, for sure. So they're a year behind me. I came into college 07. They came in 08.
Okay.
Jid too. Jid was on the football team too. That's my little bro.
That's nice.
So I was managing Jid and Earth Gang throughout college, and then I introduced them to J. Cole's A&R, and then I went on to get into corporate America because, you know, I just couldn't do the whole, you know, rob Peter to pay Paul, you know, and then like in the music industry, it's dirty game, you know what I mean? Like, I just couldn't do that whole way of things. So I just got into corporate America. I used my degree to get a job because, you know, in order to be an entrepreneur, you gotta have something to fall back on. You gotta have something to sustain you or whatnot. So I got into logistics. I started working for JB Hunt as a broker. I was like brokering freight and trucks and railroad cars and things like that. So I basically stepped away from it, and during that time is when Jid and Earth Gang, they of course they were artists, they stayed at it or whatnot, and then they, you know, developed into the artists they are now. No,
that's true, and it's just funny you say that they've been rapping for like 10 years.
I saw them yesterday at Afropunk, bro.
Really? Damn, that's dope as shit though.
Crazy.
Nah, but it's just it goes to show that, like, because I feel like what a lot of entrepreneurship is really consistency too. Like, you have to stay consistent, even like, and another thing too is knowing. I feel like another part of it is knowing who you are, like telling yourself like, this is what you are, this is what you're gonna be, and just sticking to it. For sure. It may take a couple years for you to break off. It may take 10. It took them 10 years to break off. You know what I mean? But a lot of that is just consistency. So another thing I want to ask you though is that, because I know there's a lot of different opinions on the matter as far as education goes, like higher education, college, and entrepreneurship, because there's people out there like, oh, if you want to be an entrepreneur, what do you need school for? But it's like, I understand like the benefits of school, like getting a good job, and even you said earlier that fact that if something doesn't work out, you need something to fall back on, and that's what that degree is there for. So like, would you
said it, bro? Absolutely.
So would you say that like that's the main reason why you finished school?
That my mom, always, always saying like you want to be a quitter. You know what I mean? If you're going to college is about starting something and finishing it. You know what I mean? And if you can prove to show somebody that you started something and finished it, they can trust you. You know, I actually dropped out of college when I got that internship at Def Jam because I was working in New York. You know. Okay. And I'm seeing Nas, Cameron, like certain people coming in and out the office. I'm like, yo, I made it. Like, I'm not going back to school. It's over with. You know what I mean? But, things happen in the music industry like rapidly, day by day, and like they'll let you into the building one day, then the next day, they don't answer phone calls, don't return emails. So, I had to leave the music industry, and I went back to college for my senior year, and that's when I started my restaurant. I actually got a settlement that also helped me go back to school because I ran out of loans to get, but I was falsely imprisoned at the Atlanta Underground. And so I sued them for that false imprisonment and got like $50,000. I was like 21, 22.
Damn, that's crazy. Racks,
good
that you got that 50 though.
I blew it, bro.
How long ago was that? Because 50 like that's a lot of money.
That right there, right? Yeah. That was like
I mean, shit, 50,000 now is still a lot of money, but.
Yeah. So that was my first taste of like touching real money at the time, and I invested it.
That's good.
I put it into the restaurant, but I didn't do the due diligence in learning the industry. And if I did a little bit more of that, not being so excited about the opportunity and the space that we had, I probably wouldn't have done it. You know what I mean? But that's definitely, like you said, you live and you learn. You had your growing pains as an entrepreneur, and you're gonna have 2 or 3 businesses ideas that crumble, that don't work. All you need is that one.
All it takes
is that one. But then once you develop that one successful business, now you understand how to create more streams of revenue. You know what I mean? And you can reinvest into other industries, stocks, real estate, things like that. But you gotta create that success flow for sure.
No, definitely. So let me see. So now let's talk a little bit of business though. So you started the 12 Factory exactly when?
January 2019.
Okay, so what made you want to actually start the 12 Factory? Like, where did the inspiration come from in starting a studio?
For sure. So I had a cousin. He's an artist, YC Titan. I was managing him, and I had a 3-bedroom apartment. And in that 3-bedroom apartment, I had a music studio, and that's what he was recording out of. And we called that room the 12 Factory. We believe that everything in life go full circle, and it takes 12 months for the earth to rotate. Jesus had 12 disciples. You got 12 hours in a day, 12 hours at night. You graduate from high school from 12th grade. 12 sits at the top of a clock for a reason. You know what I mean? So it's a lot of strong symbolic meaning behind the number 12. Unfortunately, our community embraced the police as 12. But if you understand the power behind the number 12, then you understand that when you call the police 12, you give them that power, and you calling your oppressors, you know what I mean? So you basically like a slave owner again. You know what I mean? So we try to educate people, on the ignorance of us using 12 towards police. It's like you call your brother a nigga, but you know where that come from too. Exactly. You know what I mean? So go back to what we were talking about as far as the 12 Factory. That was like an apartment. So I had a room in the apartment called the 12 Factory, and the neighbors started knocking on the doors, complaining to the apartment complex, we being too loud and stuff like that. And because of my experience in the music industry, I was having like big name artists coming by, recording, but at the same time they have their friends and people, now they know where I live and everything. I'm like, we can't do this. So I had a friend tell me about the space that was vacant. And I'm like, you know what? We can do it. I'm gonna build it. I really originally wanted to build a music studio, but when I saw the space, it had a garage in there. And I'm like, with that garage, we gotta utilize that garage, So let's just make it a creative studio space, and so that we can use that garage and have cars pull in, do video shoots, and also this gives us the opportunity to not have to outsource creators. The creators are coming to us, right? So now we don't have to spend arm and a leg or the top price point for a videographer, photographer, because we can barter now. So the original idea, so we can barter photo shoots, barter videographer, things like that or whatnot. And then so that's where the 12 Factory came from. The idea came from the understanding that also for a short period of time I had to work in a warehouse, and I was driving forklifts, and it was in a factory. Okay. So I'm one of those success stories that came from driving a forklift to being a CEO. So that's where the factory part come from. What I mean? So it's like the 12 is the embracing the power that we have, but we're in the factory and we working like we factory workers in here all day long, trying to get it. So
that's definitely a dope concept though. Now, every entrepreneur kind of goes through like bumps in the road and like trials and tribulations when they first like kind of start their business or their idea or whatever it is. Like, what were some of the first early like bumps in the road when you got into the 12 Factory as far as like building out the studio and all those different factors going into it?
Thank you for asking that question, because this is a very, very important point I want to make. When it comes to brick and mortars, you have to understand the city's code, and you got to understand that every city has a map and it's zoning specifically for areas, for real estate and for commercial. You can say it's the powers that be trying to control what happens in that city or whatnot, right? So the location where the 12 Factory is, it wasn't in the proper zone for a music studio.
Gotcha.
So here I bought the building, started investing into it. Now I'm going to the city to get my business license. Like, oh, we can't give you a business license because that's not the right zone. But I didn't tell my landlord, hey, if I don't get the business license, I'm out. You gotta give me my money back, right? So now I have to go through what they call a conditional use permit. So I had to go through the process of getting a permit, but with conditions. So fortunately, my landlord's family has owned a lot of property and businesses in the city of Doraville. So they kind of like sent the email over to the city planning, and it kind of helped speed track my conditional use permit through and whatnot. But as an entrepreneur, when you're looking into starting your own business, when it comes to brick and mortars, go to the city hall and look up the city zoning, because if certain cities won't allow you to do business, depending on what code. Now every business has a code that goes with it, right? And your NAICS code, NAICS, the NAICS code, and that you get that NAICS code when you apply for your business license through the state. You get your LLC. So the state wants to know what type of business you're in, what you're doing. Okay, here's the code for that business. You have to take that code, go to the city hall, get your business license, because the city has to give you permission to do business in their city. The state gives you permission to do business in the state, but then now you gotta get a city business license. And then when you go to the city, commercial wise, brick and mortar, it has to be in a specific zone in order to do certain business. You can do business at your house. It doesn't matter, right? But when it comes to like certain businesses, they want to make sure that certain things don't go on in certain parts of the city based on the zoning.
Now, and it's just funny you say that too. Do you know what Tokyo Valentina is? So it's like this store. They sell like a lot of like sex products over there. Yeah. They were just having some problems. They're having to take down one of the stores. They have stores everywhere. Yeah. But they just had to take one down because same thing with like the code. Their code wasn't the proper code for what they were selling, so now they're having to take down one of their stores and all that different kind of exactly like what you were saying. Like, so it's just crazy, like just hearing that.
Real, dude.
Yeah, it's true.
You gotta do your due diligence. You gotta do your research and understand. What I mean? Like when it comes to coding and zoning, it's important. Yo, I'm more scared of the code enforcer than the police, bro. For real, the police,
because they fuck with your business.
The police cannot come into the building without a warrant. That code enforcer come knock on that door,
you gotta let him in.
You gotta let him in, bro. You don't let him in, you get an injunction on your business.
Damn.
The injunction no longer allow you to do business in that city.
Shit.
So if you try to do any business, you know, it's like they're gonna shut you down, right? Because you gotta pay business taxes and everything else. So like, yeah, that code enforcer, man, that's the Grim Reaper. Like, he's way scarier than the police to me, for sure.
No, definitely. Now, if you were to give advice to someone that wanted to be an entrepreneur, like, what would you say some of the expectations someone should have in wanting to get into entrepreneurship? Because a lot of the times it looks very glamorous, especially with social media today. Like, everyone wants to be an entrepreneur, but a lot of people don't understand like a lot of the back end works of it. So like, what are some expectations someone should expect going into it?
Listen, expect nobody to support you. The closest ones to you gonna hurt you the most. They're not gonna support you. They're gonna try to kill your dream. They're gonna hate on you. Don't expect to hire anybody that you know. You gotta hire people that you don't know. You might sometimes gotta hire people off the street because they'll have that work drive and that passion that's gonna help grow your business. And a lot of times your family and friends become jealous of your success too. You know, so because they don't expect you to be as successful as you are, and then when you get there, they don't know how to support it. They don't know how to handle it. You know what I mean? They might say, "Oh, you changed. You got a big head and everything."
What you want, like,
what?
Yeah.
What I'm supposed to do? Like, you just said I couldn't do it. You know what I mean? So when I first started my business, like, I had family and friends like, "Yo, why would you do that? You know, you don't have $1 million. You don't have this and that. You know?" But I'm like, we cut from the same cloth. Like, we get the same DNA. You know what I mean? Like, my ancestors, your ancestors, and you know what they went through. So if they went through, you know, I can make it happen too. You know, so yeah, don't expect any support from your family and friends. If you do get it, it's a blessing. Know that it's all on you. You know, you sink or swim. There is no 9 to 5 as an entrepreneur. It's 24/7. You know, you get what you put out. Your product is you. You know, your hard work, your drive is what's going to determine the end goal and the success of your business. And also let your hustle shine. Don't brag, don't boast, don't, you know, like let your hustle, let your drive speak for itself. You know, you don't have to tell people what you do. Just let it show, you know what I mean? Because they can see through, like you said, it looks good on camera, it looks good on social media, you know what I mean? But also show them when those late nights, when you in there at 11 o'clock at night, 1 o'clock in the morning, sweeping or mopping or painting, you know what I mean? Because that's where the grit and grind come in, you know what I mean? Like, and you also got to understand competition is high. Yep. People are always looking at what you do and trying to beat you, trying to take you out. So you got to be up when your competition is asleep. You got to be up, you know, like, just understand that it's all in what you do, like all in how your drive and your makeup. Like, I can't say it enough, dude. Like, there is no. Now take it back. I went to school for entrepreneurship, so there's a science to it. And also, what I learned in college was how to take your business public. You know what I mean? And like how to go about getting investments and understanding the verbiage when you're trying to talk to an investor. You know what I mean? Because certain things you can learn on YouTube, but you know, it is a science to entrepreneurship. So, you know, college did help in that aspect.
So what would your response be to someone that has, I'm not gonna say excuses, but they have statements like, "Oh, I don't have enough money to get into entrepreneurship"? Because me personally, I feel like you don't have to have thousands and thousands of dollars. Like, you're gonna need it when you want to start to get big, but as far as like just starting off small, like buying t-shirts, flipping it, and getting like just building from somewhere small, like what would you say to someone that says like, "Oh, I don't have enough money to get into entrepreneurship," or like have the resources or knowledge to get into it?
Got you. Knowledge shouldn't be the case because you can learn anything on YouTube these days. You know what I mean? Now, money, you do need money to get licensed. You know what I mean? For your business to be legit. So, you know, you got birthdays, you got holidays, you got certain times of the year you're gonna get money. You know what I mean? Like, you know, you can always be innovative and create a GoFundMe or something like that. People support you with your startup funds. you saving, try to save as much as you can, but you gotta have $100 at least to get your LLC from the state. You gotta have at least $100 to start your bank account.
Need another couple hundred to get that EIN number too.
No.
Really?
No, the EIN number is free.
Oh, is it free? I'm tripping then.
EIN number is free $99 right now and you get that through the IRS.
Okay.
I'm glad you mentioned that. Yeah, the tax ID number. So look, this is how you get the money, the tax ID number, because your EIN, your tax ID number, is your social for your business. It's your social security number. When you go to the bank for loans, they research your tax ID number. You use your personal social for you try to get a personal loan. When you try and get a business loan, you use your tax ID number. Now, in order to build your business credit, your tax ID number, you have to develop a relationship with your vendors. So when you start your business, you have vendors like Home Depot, Walmart, people that make your business cards, they make your graphic designers, your websites, anybody you outsource service to is a vendor, right? So there's a company called Dun & Bradstreet. Dun & Bradstreet is the equivalent to TransUnion, Equifax, right? Okay. So TransUnion, Equifax is your personal credit check, right? Dun & Bradstreet is the business credit check. So when you create your business profile on Dun & Bradstreet, you're able to upload your trade references. Your trade reference is basically your suppliers. So let's say I go to you for my graphic design, right? Your business is, throw a name out there right quick.
Oh, Clue World.
Well, Clue World, right? So I will add Clue World to my trade references under my Dun & Bradstreet profile. I spend, let's say, $3,000 a month on your services, right? Dun & Bradstreet is going to contact you to reference if that's true or not. If you do, that means you gave me a $3,000 trade line, right? So now Dun & Bradstreet can incorporate that into my business credit score.
Got you.
Right? So now I go to the next service provider I have, right? My landlord I pay rent to, right? She has an LLC, right? So now I can use her LLC as a trade reference, right? And I spend, let's say, $1,500 a month, right? 12 times 12 a year, right? So now that's my trade line, my trade reference. So now I go to the bank. They're not going to check my social security number. They're going to check Dun & Bradstreet.
Gotcha.
Dun & Bradstreet is a reputable company that's doing the due diligence to investigate my ability to pay back my creditors on time. So Dun & Bradstreet will provide a number, right, that is equivalent to like your FICO score.
Okay.
So when you go to the business, go to a bank or go anywhere try to get a business loan, they're going to check your Dun & Bradstreet number. If your Dun & Bradstreet number is A1, then you're gonna get that line of credit from that business.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? You don't really need your personal FICO score or personal credit score. Maybe the first 3 months, 6 months of your business, but if you develop your business credit score, then you don't have to use your personal credit score, and then now you're getting into large sums of money because a bank understands that it takes money to make money.
Yep.
If you go to the bank for a personal loan, they may give you $5,000. That's probably max.
Right.
You go to the bank for a business, you know what I mean? They're gonna give you $50,000, $40,000, $30,000 because they know it takes that much money to invest into your company to make it, exactly. Right? So, but you're going to pay it back Now, also going into understanding like how you develop your business. Is it going to be an LLC, a sole proprietorship? Is it going to be, INC, incorporation, right? I learned that in college because it's a science to it. You know, you can't go public unless your business is the INC.
Okay.
There's no businesses on the stock trade, and when you go public, basically saying that I'm allowing people to invest into my company, right? So when you go public, it has to be an Inc., right? Incorporated. And in order to be an Inc., you gotta have a board of directors.
Okay.
Right? You gotta have that sits over your CEO. Right? That's what happened with Steve Jobs.
Yeah. End up getting them out of
It's
out
Apple
of there.
Inc.
Yeah.
Right? He was the CEO, but the board of directors got him up out of there.
Yep.
Right? So if you're LLC, you don't have to have a board of directors. You are your main, you know what I mean? CEO, you're the main decision maker or whatnot.
Yeah.
It's a gift and curse with that. You know? But a limited liability company also gives you room to make large risk because it doesn't fall back on you, it falls back on your business.
Exactly.
Right? So let's say you get a $200,000 loan, you default on it. That's why they created bankruptcy. You personally didn't go in bankruptcy, your business went bankrupt. Donald Trump, 7 businesses done went bankrupt.
Yep.
Walt Disney, several businesses done went bankrupt. You know what I mean? Because they understand that's why you put the LLC in place, so that if something don't go right, it don't fall on you.
Exactly. You
right?
keep all your personal assets and stuff like that. Gotcha.
So you can take it, but but they could go bankrupt, but still sitting on $200,000 when not, cause it's in a different bank account.
Exactly.
It's on another LLC. They took that money and put it towards something else. You know what I mean? So you can use these businesses to get money to invest in these other things, but you're gonna eventually go bankrupt, or you have to seize the company or do what, you know what I mean? But especially like right now with the SBA, Small Business Association and things like that, they're handing out money right now, left and right. Yeah. And it doesn't matter your makeup anymore. Yep. You know what I mean? There's no excuse to I'm a black entrepreneur, I can't get no loan. There's no excuse right now. You know what I mean? If you build your profile up, you build your business credit up, you're gonna get the same amount of money as the Asian or the Indian or the white guy next to you.
Wow, that's cool. Learning a lot of stuff. It's cool just listening, hearing, because I feel like a lot of this is, again, you're learning along the way. And again, when you start something, you're just adjusting with everything.
Absolutely.
You just, again, learn on the way. So just hearing all those different things that you could do is I feel like that, and that's another reason why I love the show. You get to hear all these different ways to start things and pathways you could take as far as LLCs go and corporations, because just being able to have access to, or having an avenue to hear all that is why I love doing this too. So really appreciate
that's why you stay locked in. You subscribe and like the channel right now. Where is it? Right here.
So Gabbers TV, subscribe. We're gonna be here for a long time. But so one of the final questions I did want to ask you though is, so where do you see the 12 Factory being in the next 5-10 years?
Awesome. So one of the reasons why I am working with the Kasim Reed and his campaign is to learn about the financial investments I can take in the city of Atlanta.
Okay.
So I know it might be a drawn out question, but right now I've learned about this group called Invest Atlanta, where they're basically, like you said earlier, giving out money to small businesses to open up businesses in certain parts of Atlanta. Right? So I want to develop the 12 Factory to actually be a large warehouse or factory, right? Take over one of these warehouses that's abandoned in the city of Atlanta, right? It's only certain people in Atlanta that have access to that knowledge and knowing what's available, right? So I'm, working my working my move with the campaign so that I can branch out and open up the 12 factory in the city of Atlanta, a large warehouse space where we're able to give underprivileged communities and opportunities for job employment, for creative content development, and, create that system and then branch off in more franchise. I want to franchise 12 factory in other cities as well.
Of course.
For sure. So, 5 years from now, I see us having about multiple locations in the Southeast, and owning the real estate as well. Owning that property is important.
Definitely.
Because, as you're leasing, you got to understand, your lease is only but so long. And if the owner of the building decides to tear it down or put somebody else in there, you have no option. You have to do that, and here you put $50,000 into renovating the spot that's not yours.
Exactly.
Right. And then with real estate, when you own the property, the more investment you put into it, the higher the resale value is. Right. Right. So that's how McDonald's was able to be successful, because they own the properties in which their McDonald's is on. You know what I mean? So it's really like a real estate investment / McDonald's, but that McDonald's is going to boom. But 10 years from now, the value of that property is way higher than it was 10 years ago because, what McDonald's did past 10 years in that location, right? So just understanding the real estate investment. But then every major city has a underdevelopment zone. And especially nowadays, there's money to invest in underdevelopment zone because gentrification is booming right now, right? So if you have a great idea, you could put it in a certain part of the city and get the funds from the city to develop your idea, because they're putting money into small businesses to redevelop the area, right? So to go along with gentrification or whatnot. But gentrification doesn't just mean, other minorities coming in, It's just redeveloping the area so that it's more modern. Yeah. Right? So, and everybody wants it more modern. You want to have it, like look what Mercedes-Benz Stadium's done to that part of Atlanta.
Exactly.
It's a lot more modern, it's a lot more visible, it's a lot more business going on, right?
Yeah, well, there's a lot of negative connotation behind gentrification as far as people are getting kicked out of their areas. So, but I mean, in my eyes, I always thought of it as the property value of the area is just growing. I mean, you would want that to happen.
Absolutely.
Just anywhere in the country. I mean, you just want the economy's growing. Exactly. You know what I mean? But there's a lot of negative connotations behind it.
It is. But if you're able to, create certain programs that keep the people there, then you're good. So, there's certain. I think if the city or someone was able to do it like house by house basis, or where household by household, we figuring out who needs a program, who doesn't need a program, then that'll help deviate the negative connotation that comes with the gentrification. But that's on a residential side. Commercial side is nothing but success, nothing but prosperity when it comes to gentrification, when it comes to business wise. Like look at the Beltline. You know what I mean? When the Beltline came to any part of Atlanta, business boom for whatever business is in that area because it's developing foot traffic. Yep. And you're some businesses that didn't have any foot traffic before the Beltline, and now they just probably making $200,000 more revenue a year just because the foot traffic.
Exactly. Not even Kasim Reed, he was talking about that in the Big Facts podcast about how you could develop programs to keep people in there. Like he developed a program that was supposed to keep 10% of whoever was in that area in the apartments or condos or wherever the area was. But he was basically talking about how there's been some mismanagement in it. So he's going he's going to start going door to door to figure out who's living there, get them out of there, put the people back in there.
Basically what he's saying is like these high rises that are coming up in Atlanta, it's supposed to be when they get the building, they sign that they are agreeing to allowing at least 20% of their occupancy of their building is going to go towards single family homes, right? Single family homes can be even college students, single family homes, right? So single moms, things like that, right? But now no one is monitoring or auditing to see if it's only, you know what I mean? So now the entire space is getting occupied by people with money, you know what I mean? Or like, because the property management, they're only allowing certain people that qualify that make 3 times the rent, right? So if you know that you're not going to qualify for application to get through the supply rise, you're not going to apply.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? But if the property management is doing their job, let people know, okay, well, 20% of these available units are for people that qualify in single family homes. You don't have to have 3 times the rent. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
But at the same time, the other side is complaining that, oh, well, those type of people are going to bring in, you know what I mean, people, you know what I mean, they're going to have loud music, they're going to create, you know what I mean? So there's
pros and cons to it and all that other kind of stuff. Yeah, you just got to have that whole auditing process, but that's what those programs are in place for.
For sure.
No, but I definitely appreciate you coming out. This is, I'm pretty sure, the 14th episode of the Blake Edwards podcast, so I really do appreciate you coming out and showing some love to the show, man.
Anytime, man. You know, and don't be a stranger. Let me know. Definitely. Hit me up in real life or social media. Let's continue this communication channel going. For anybody out there that wants to learn more information, you can follow me on Instagram. I am 12F_CEO. My email is info@the12factory.com. Our business phone number is 404-291-5831. Our location is 2646 Church Drive, Atlanta, Georgia 30340. Man, come show love, come support. Our website is the12factory.com, www.the12factory.com. And we are a minority-owned small business here in the city of Atlanta. We're doing great things. We're 3 years old. We got major things coming into this year. We talked about it before. We always redeveloping, revamping, and keeping everything positive. And stay focused on your dreams. If your dreams don't scare you, you ain't dreaming big enough.
Definitely, I'm gonna make sure to put all those Instagram usernames and websites in the link in the description below. So if you guys want to check out his studio, if you guys have any photo shoots you guys want to book, videos, music videos, any events you guys want to host, make sure you guys hit up the 12 Factory. It is here out in Atlanta. But again, appreciate you coming out.
My man.
Fire ass episode,
appreciate
bro.
It,
definitely.
Oh yeah, we're screwing up and going home.
Yes, sir.